All right, so the midterms did occur 2 days ago, and we're going to be tuning in to look at Tomi Lahren's response to this. She was on Fox News, of course, back over there. Now, the predictions ended up pretty much being sound, as I have to continue to repeat this. There's this sort of weird stuff going on here that we're going to be talking about, but the predictions were the House will be taken by the Democrats. That was what the polling said. And the polling said that the Senate would remain Republican because, numbers-wise, 26 vacancies for the Democrats and independents combined. How many were there for Republicans? Not even double digits. It was 9. So it doesn't take a statistician with a master's degree in, statistics. All it takes is a basic understanding of math. It really is not that complicated. So the majority opinions, I don't give predictions, but what I thought was going to, my analysis of it was, that's probably what's going to happen. That's what I thought. H.A. Goodman, of course, not of that camp, he thought not only was the Senate going to go, which, you don't have to be a Nostradamus to predict that because it's some really basic stuff, right? Very obvious, very mathematically basic stuff. He figured instead that they were going to take the House. And so the dude made like a bunch of videos coming up on the midterm election saying the House is going to win. And again, if you guys haven't seen the video I made on his meltdown, please go check it out. You will not regret it. It's a hilarious, hilarious meltdown. It's a meltdown that took over the span of like 2 hours. Not like a short, tiny meltdown. No, that happened for a long time. So she goes on Fox News here. I do want you guys to check this out, and we'll come back and talk about it.
All right, the Media Research Center out with a brand new revealing the coverage of the midterms leading up to the election was overwhelmingly biased in favor of Democrats.
The study found, get this, network nightly news was 88% negative towards the GOP and the president's campaigning. And the doom and gloom continued as the results came in.
This has been one of the most divisive midterms in our lifetime.
But at the end of the day, Donald Trump and his followers are still intact.
It's heartbreaking. The hope has been that the antibodies would kick in, that this sort of infestation of hatred and division would draw a response from the American people, really in both parties, to say no and no more. That does not seem to be happening tonight. It's not a blue wave, but it's still a blue war.
Joining us with reaction, Fox Nation host Tomi Lahren. Tomi, heartbreaking antibodies.
I think it's actually more entertaining and comical to watch other mainstream media networks than it is to watch shows like SNL. To me, that's funnier. I think that a lot of Americans tune in just to laugh. I know watching that, we went from a white lash to heartbreaking to antibodies. They make fools of themselves.
Yeah, take a look at these numbers. NBC Nightly News, in terms of covering the economy, which is through the roof by almost all accounts. They put 45 seconds into it. CBS, 57 seconds into it. A minute 37 for ABC. Does this reaffirm why the president switched notes from the economy to immigration?
Well, of course, the president needs to talk about immigration because it's so important, and being in a border state, I know that. But he's not going to just talk about the economy because they're not going to cover the economy. We've already seen that. They don't really care about the American people and how well the American people are doing. They care about sinking Donald Trump. And last night, this so-called blue wave was a blue puddle. Can you imagine how much better we would have done if they would have covered President Trump fairly? It would have been devastating for the Democrats, but they need to hold on to their derangement.
Many in the media laughed as well when the president said this is going to be, he framed it, it's going to be about Kavanaugh and the caravan. We could talk about immigration, but let's talk Kavanaugh first. Kavanaugh ends up being a big factor in these Senate races. Every Democrat who voted no on Kavanaugh in these battlegrounds, like a McCaskill, like a Heitkamp, they go down. And Manchin, the only Democrat who votes yes, just barely wins with the yes vote. If he voted no, he might have lost.
Well, the Midwest, too, I think it's so important. Coming from the Midwest, and I know you coming from the South, the values are, I think, different than the left coast and the East Coast. We value truth, honesty, and justice, and what happened to Justice Kavanaugh was so wrong. And the American people, no matter which side of the aisle, if they're in the middle, they saw that as such an injustice, and they know that that could happen to them, that could happen to their family members, that could happen to every qualified candidate that comes up for a position like that. And they said enough, and enough with the games. There's no evidence here. Now we're finding out even more. It was a joke to some of these accusers. So it was disgusting, and the American people spoke.
Tomi, thank you so much for being here.
Thank
Congratulations on Fox Nation.
you. It's coming up.
On the 27th.
And I've been told that Brian doesn't have a picture on the wall.
Yeah.
So we need Brian to get a picture on the wall.
Yeah, this is unbelievable.
No, Brian has probably done more for Fox Nation, more shoots.
No, nobody does more than Tommy.
Well, other than the host, but he's gone out and about in the community telling the stories, and his picture's not on the wall.
It is always fun to dip your head into Fox News's propaganda and see what kind of nonsense they're spewing and what kind of stuff they're pushing. And so I do always enjoy doing that. Now, as you guys saw there, Tomi Lahren sort of excited. First, before I get into any of the stuff here, but what I don't understand is why Republicans are acting like this is some great sweep. I don't understand that. So, and this is the problem often with the left, is they frame stuff so goddamn poorly, and so the debate is centered in the wrong way. The way that this should be centered is, holy smokes, Andrew Gillum came within 50,000 votes, almost 0.5%. Bill Nelson, I forgot what his was around like 100 or something, around there, some similar to Gillum's deficit. Beto came really close. In Texas, red town, red nation, that is what that is. So the debate should be framed, yo dog, you barely slithered like the snake named Kevin Durant. You slithered by, just barely making it, barely. In the next 10 years, you're not looking so good in those states. So that's how the conversation should be going. And I talked about this before the elections even happened. I said, if Beto loses, he didn't take an L. You know why? It's Texas. The fact that an actual statewide election for Senate was that close in Texas, dude, that's insanity. They're losing ground. You're not looking at the long game in any way, and you're just not contextualizing it. You're just looking at it in a vacuum, which is dumb because context is very important, obviously. And the other thing is, the Democrats took the House. That means that you're not getting anything done. Because they can now shut it down in the House. You won't have both houses. You won't have a unified government. B, Trump is going to go through hell. You do realize that, right? I mean, I don't think there's anything that'll take him down, but the Democrats are going to try, which is what they should do. They're going to now be able to demand his tax returns, and they are going to drag this douchebag through the mud. They're going to have subpoena power. I believe that it's Maxine Waters who's going to be the finance committee chair or something like that, which will give her the power to demand Trump's tax returns. And again, the House is one of the houses, so if you can't get it through the House, you're done-ski. It's over. It's a wrap. You can't get it through. So this is very good news. And so despite one of the two houses that are being voted on be going Democrat, I don't know why the debate is being discussed as Tomi Lahren laughing at the idea of a blue wave. No one thought the Democrats were going to take the Senate. That wasn't going to happen. It was basic mathematics. So very crappy framing, and that mostly falls on the left because they're not fighting back against the dumb framing. So I want to talk about that first. So diving into the segment, in the beginning, they talk about, the negative coverage of the Republicans. Like, no shit. Do you know why? It's because objectively speaking, they're negative. They're bad. That's objectively speaking. Donald Trump he's doing campaign rallies talking about how he was glad that the reporter got body slammed by Greg Gianforte. Like, how is that objectively good? It's not. And so the fake neutrality thing is so dumb. Neutrality bias is the worst thing possible. It's all about objectivity, not about neutrality. Not everything, anything rarely is 50-50, okay? Usually there's a right answer, and that is what you should pick. So objectively speaking, if Donald Trump goes on the campaign trail and he says, I forgot exactly what he said, but he basically was like, that's my guy or something like that. He's like, I like people who can body slam, something like that. How is that objectively good? That's objectively bad. And then you've got Ron DeSantis, who has a horrible record, and you guys know what I'm talking about here. And so that is objectively bad. You guys are being stupid. Like Fox News is not objective, right? They are the knee-jerk reaction to neutrality, which is, we're going to be biased in favor of the Republicans instead of attempting to pretend to be neutral. So that's what they do. But they're calling for neutrality bias. So dumb, so dumb. And then they talk about, oh, well, why aren't they covering the economy? Dude, the economy is not, it's not what you're calling booming. Wages remain stagnant. Unemployment numbers are super deflated. The real numbers are way higher. And also, on top of that, first of all, unemployment is not the best indicator in any way, shape, or form because it doesn't actually tell you how people are doing. But I guess Donald Trump during the election cycle was trashing Obama's unemployment numbers because the logical response to someone proclaiming that the Obama administration was doing poorly was to provide statistics that look at all these record numbers on the Obama administration and the economy. And so Donald Trump is on the election trail saying, oh, these numbers are deflated, it's fake, and, that's what the libertarian economist Peter Schiff is saying. And then now that he's president, he just utilizes those same numbers. Like, what a fake. That's such a fraud thing to do. Of course, it's not surprising at this point. It's Donald Trump, right? That's everything that he does. But the economy, wages are staying, they have remained stagnant. They're not going up. That is not just because more people aren't employed, especially when you're using, these deflated statistics. But what I was trying to say is, if you're going to give Donald Doofus here credit for this, you should be giving more credit to Obama. Not only should you be giving credit to Obama, which Tomi Lahren and these folk don't like to do, but you should be giving more credit to Barack Obama because he's the one who started those trends. Those are his numbers, trust me. And then she tries to use immigration. Immigration is not the biggest issue. Immigration is not even close to the biggest issue. Not even close. And she said, she had the nerve to say, we value truth and justice. That's what Tomi Lahren said. We value truth. Oh my. That's like Fox News is fair and balanced. I think they got rid of that a while ago. But that was so unbelievably stupid. And obviously Jon Stewart would rip it to shreds all the time. But that is what that is very similar to. And then they bring up Kavanaugh again, which Kavanaugh, there was evidence against. It's clear that he was indeed guilty, very obviously guilty, but due to partisanship and there not actually being a real trial, which was never called upon, by the way, even though that the stipulations of the argumentation used would require a trial. But that's not what we're calling for anyway. It's sort of a dead horse now, and now we have a horrible, horrible Supreme Court justice. But, Fox News dipping its head in its own piss.